Previously.
Today we're going to be going to the moon, or the mun. That's good. We've got plenty of fuel, so I could actually just... It's at this point I should probably be landing. I'm also not watching what I'm doing. I'm spinning around crazily and not entirely sure what to do. No. Well, I guess we have a rescue mission then. Can I use something to get up? No, I can't. I can't use my legs. And then I remembered something. Oh yeah, back to me. Oh, I wish I could discard some of our craft, but we can't do that. And that's going to be a tight orbit if that. Jeb, Bob, just like now, God, you are going to be staying here for a while. Welcome back to basics. So today we're going to do the final part of this series before we start the second series. So we have got to tie some things up, and one of those things is we've got to rescue Jeb and his buddy from around the moon. So I am building right now, you can see on screen, something to actually collect them with. I've never used the claw before, so this is going to be an experience. So we've got a claw, a couple of transmitters, and we're just going to build a little craft that we can take to the moon, drop into orbit. And the original plan was to actually grab the capsule and bring the capsule back, because when you look at the claw, it actually says that it doesn't allow fuel flow, or it does. I maybe misread it. So the original plan was just to actually drag the rocket back with this, and you'll see there I put the capsule on just to see what sort of delta V we were going to get, and it seemed fine. It was a lot of delta V, so I wasn't too worried. Putting some thrusters for RCS on the side and just messing around really. So it's a very simple craft, using RCS for the docking. The important thing here is that we are going to be using a probe core, so we're going to have limited control. We're going to have basically sort of direction keeping, and that's about it for this because it's a very basic probe core. We stick an extra reaction wheel on because, you know, I want to be able to turn it around quite quickly. And underneath that, we're going to use part of the Gene 2 to actually take it there, because we know that craft works. We know it launches okay. We feel pretty confident with it. So we've got the Gene 2 with the NACOT 1, we've decided to call it, because, you know, rescue and all that. And there we go. So we sort the staging out, and we're pretty much ready to go. And then we look at the delta V and we think, yeah, let's stick some extra boosters on there. So we'll do a bit of asparagus staging there. If you look at the fuel lines, you'll see they're just designed for asparagus staging. So we'll have one set of tanks fall off first and then the second set, and that gives us a little bit more efficiency. So we're on the launch pad. We're going to launch, we're going to take it off and hopefully get into a decent orbit. So everything's good. We launch, start to go up, and the speed's increasing really nicely. Get rid of our first sort of set of tanks, keep on going up there, and the speed is starting to not really go up as much as it was. We don't have the power of those first set. We're now on our final engine of the main sort of launch stage, the first stage of the booster, and we're running through that fuel. We've got quite a bit of fuel there, and yeah, we've got a decent apoapsis. We pull out our solar panels, but we might not have enough fuel in this stage to actually do what we want. We'll see. So we circularize, and we're now going to head off to the moon. That was a really easy orbit, basically. We got in there nicely. Use the same maneuver node sort of setup we've used before. And then we start looking at maneuvers around the moon. And if you notice there, I actually I went past our initial encounter and went a bit further on because we were going to come in to the wrong side of moon, and it's really important that we're actually in the same direction as the orbital direction as the craft we're actually going to orbit with. Otherwise we have to use a lot of fuel to change that. So you can see here we're coming in, and we could just leave it there, but we actually need to be in the same direction as the craft we're going to be orbiting, rendezvousing with. So you see here we just keep burning, and all we're doing is we're doing prograde burns just to take us a bit further on in our orbit, encounter it a little bit sooner or later, and just swing that right round. So you'll see we're going through, it's turning around, we're about to come out of the other side of the moon. Here we go, and then you'll see that, yeah, there we go. So now we're actually orbiting in pretty much the same direction as our target. The next thing to do is to actually, well, first of all, circularize. But what we might try and do is actually, yeah, we're just going to circularize first. You could do a slight inclination change on arrival, but we didn't do that here. Okay, so we just got to circularize. We just want to capture. You'll notice we stay in quite a high orbit. The main reason being for that, so that we can actually do this plane change quite far out. Okay, we're going to change our plane to match that of the target vessel at the ascending node, and put a maneuver node in there. And we go anti-normal, so that we're going to actually bring our inclination in line with the target. And this is the bit that sort of, you know, is a bit fiddly. You'll notice we look around, we sort of try and get the right position. We want to try and get as close as possible because it makes the docking much easier. So we do our little burn. It's just an anti-normal burn. You see the change there in our, and there we go. There's the flip. There was the flip when our ascending and descending nodes flip. That's really important. Now, next step, we're going to circularize our orbit around the orbit that we're actually going to try and dock with. Now, we don't want to actually go straight to the orbit that we're going with, the object, the target is in. We're holding back a little bit, and you'll notice I speed forward time a little bit just so that I can watch the target vessel catch up. It's actually going faster than us, and then we have a problem. We don't have a signal at the point I need to have a signal, because we've got the moon between us and Kerbin. So we have to go round again. We have to hope that we get it at the right place. And here you can see the target vessel is now just behind our craft, which means that in the next 1 or 2 orbits, we're going to actually be past. And that's where we start to do this Hoffman transfer. We burn retrograde and lower our periaps to the same height as the target orbit. And we do that so that the two will actually be in the same place at the same time. If we go back to the maneuver node bit later, or into the orbit later, you'll actually see that our orbit now drops down, and we have a closest approach with our target vessel, there we go, of 0.1 kilometers, just 0.1 kilometers. It's really close. It's a really nice, easy thing. This is a really simple way to just get that rendezvous done. We've got a circularized orbit that we're targeting for. We've put a circularized orbit around the outside, so it's a nice, easy way to do it. Do the basics for docking first, and it makes the whole process a lot easier. So we just warp towards our nearest approach, and there we go. We can see our target now. We're coming in slightly above, slightly different angle. We're definitely going faster. We're doing about 25 meters per second faster, so we're going to go into retrograde compared to the target. This is important. Compared to the target, we're going to go retrograde. And we're going to try and slow ourselves down. You see, we just take it down, 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 until we're pretty much station keeping. Okay, so now we know we're going to be about 600 meters away, and it's going to go in and out a bit. And then we start doing our burn towards the target, spend a little time, let ourselves get closer, and we just let it get closer and closer and closer. And in a little bit, we'll slow down. So you see, we've positioned ourselves so that we can actually fire retrograde again to the target, because we don't want to overshoot. Now, this will sometimes take 2 or 3, 4, 5 attempts, depending on how you do it. You see, we're within 100 meters now, less than 100 meters, and we're still going in. And this was actually really quick rendezvous. And we're just going to, there we go, we zeroed out our time, and we got rid of our little transfer stage there, and we've now just got the main craft. We got rid of the transfer stage so that we got a bit more nimble, because we don't need all that fuel. We've got a lot of fuel on this craft. Now, the next bit is basically just get closer again. So we burn towards, slow down, we overshoot a little bit. That's me being a little bit over optimistic. I've not used the claw before, so what you're about to see is perfect examples of someone not knowing the difference between a claw and a docking port. You'll see that I'm actually targeting the command pod because, as I said at the start, my aim was probably to detach that command pod and then fly it back on this craft. I didn't know whether we'd be able to transfer fuel or not, and I assumed we wouldn't because it's a claw. So I come in and I'm treating it like a docking here. So if you watch carefully, you'll see I'm treating it like a docking. We're going nice and slow. We're going to do a really slow, gentle docking. Yeah, so I'm thinking docking. I'm thinking, oh, this is going beautifully. You can see the camera's actually panning around because we're so close to our target, and that's when I realise I'm off centre. So I whittle around a bit now. I'm trying to get a contact. I move around. I'm then aware of the solar panels that are getting awfully close. Woof, swing round, almost take a solar panel out. That could have been quite dangerous because I don't think I have any spare panels on this. Normally I'd put an extra panel on, just a fixed panel, just in case of a situation like that. Now I'm scared to swing around and reorientate myself because of those solar panels, and I'm just trying to get positioned a bit better, and I'm starting to float away. So again, calming down a bit. I don't do that though. I start to just burst, and I'm like, right, let's just go for it. Let's just get it done. Let's just get it done. Go on, let's do it. And I missed it. I clip the bottom. And then what you actually missed seeing there was that I actually did hit it with the claw, but with the outside of the claw. In hindsight, oof, that was very close. In hindsight, I should have actually just gone for any part of the craft, but I was trying to be very careful and just tease that cockpit, that capsule. If I'd have gone for the main body of the craft, it probably would have been a better idea, knowing now what I knew then. So here we go. We come in again and docked nicely. It's okay. I actually put a little bit of extra force in it that time just to make sure that it actually connected. Notice there is no heat shield on that capsule. That may be important. So we're now locked together, and I'm looking around. I'm thinking, what can I do? And I'm about to detach the capsule. Actually, that's why I clicked on the decoupler. And then I stop and I just think, well, maybe I can transfer the fuel. And lo and behold, you can transfer fuel through the claw, which I think is really interesting. I haven't used them before, so that was a new thing for me. So we unload all of the fuel that we've got, fill up those tanks. Wonderful. So you see, we've only left a tiny little bit in the original craft, and it's time to actually do something about this. So we've now got our crew in their original craft still. They've been to the moon, and we're about to depart home. But before we do that, we've got to check some stuff because we're going to go on a bit of a journey here. So, because it's important we put our landing legs away. I'm not entirely sure why that was so important to me at the point. And I'm looking around. I'm trying to decide what to do. Do I want to leave garbage in orbit and stuff? I decided to do some science and check, because we did get some science off the surface. We collected a lot of that. And I'm just wary of actually, particularly for the things like the Science Junior and some of the experiments, we haven't actually got those off Mun before, and we are needing some science before the end of this series, because if we're going to go to other planets, we're going to need some technology for it. So hopefully this is going to give us some technology to help that process. So we get out, we do the science stuff as you do, and it's all very nice and well and good. We've still got that claw attached to the side of the craft. We transfer all of this stuff around. I believe when you've got action groups, you can actually set the science container to actually suck out the science from in the craft, so that's good. So we move back until the sunlight so I can actually see what's going on, and we're just going to release the claw. So there it goes. It's done its work, and now it's just left floating in orbit. Another piece of debris for our program to actually deal with. At some point I'll have to build some sort of garbage collection system. And then it's just the standard, it's a very nice orbit that actually. Then it's just the standard return home. So we burn prograde, do we? Yeah, we burn prograde on the far side of the moon, extend our orbit, and this is basically going the opposite direction to travel of the moon. And then that brings us down. We get this thing here, and we just keep burning until we get our periaps nice and low. It should be reasonably low. It's not great, so I just wait until we get into Kerbin's sphere of influence instead of going all the way in the moon. Now, in hindsight, that might have been a better idea, is to actually do it properly at the moon instead of doing it in a hurry. Interestingly, by attaching those two craft together, we managed to get the world's first station around the moon, which is an interesting one. But anyway, so we start to burn retrograde just to slow ourselves down. We're just slowing ourselves down, bringing the periaps up. Efficiency wise, around the moon would have probably been more efficient, but I'm looking at my fuel at this point and going, I've got 2,000 meters per second of delta V. That's not a problem. That's a waste, in fact. And then I start to think, as we're coming into the atmosphere, oh dear, there isn't a heat shield on this, is there? And that's when I start to burn the engines. Normally I would do this just to sort of maintain the craft a little bit, and it makes the life a little easier for the Kerbals. But now I'm actually consciously concerned because there's no heat shield, and we're coming in with 300 meters per second of delta V, so that's a lot of heat. Ideally, I'd just let the bottom end of the craft burn off, but there's a lot of weight at the top of the craft, and it's likely to flip over. So I not only need to slow down, I also need to keep orientation, and the engine does that for me. The engine has gimbaling, so it's going to keep me in the retrograde position. So my parachute, most importantly, and my capsule are kept out of the heat of re-entry, and so we're just burning all the way down. Now this is an odd thing to do. Now I think possibly if the heating was set higher, we're on normal at the moment. If the heating was set higher, I would probably have had things exploding. I think the landing gear at least should have burned up. The engines themselves can hold quite a bit of heat, but even so, this is a lot going into this engine for Kerbal. If this was realism overhaul or something like that, yeah, this craft would have just annihilated itself. The engine probably burned up as well. Everything else would have gone. And we're still burning after we've gone through the heating phase. So although we had 2,000 meters per second of delta V, we actually lost more than that speed because we got the air resistance as well. And there we go, flipping round. The second we flip round, because the engine's been cut, the air's got too thick, and we're just gonna flip. And at that point, we decouple the capsule. Now, potentially we could have taken the whole craft down and done a burn at the end if I'd have saved fuel, but no. So we drift in, and we have the usual slow, drawn out, coming down to land, blah blah blah, and it takes its time until we get just to the end, and the boys are back. So for the first time in almost probably 10 episodes, we have all of our crew on Kerbin. They're all back. So we've got nobody stranded anywhere. So, recover the vessel, get all that beautiful science. That we're up to 770 science now after that. And that is a lot of science that we brought in there. 730 science. Might not be much for many, but for this space program, it's a lot. You will see that we've got a bit of cash there as well. So we actually, between this and the next series, we'll be spending some of that cash on primarily probably the communications, because we need to be able to communicate with other areas. So what is the next series going to be about? We're going interplanetary. We're going to try and get out of Kerbin's sphere of influence. We've had Nakot already stick our nose out. We're going to try and go, I think, to all of the planets of the Kerbal system. And that's going to be the aim. Many of the episodes so far in this series have had me doing a mixture of, post commentary and commentary while I'm doing things. Because of the way that the missions are likely to go, it's going to be more sort of post commentary, but I'm going to try and keep some live bits in as well. But I think that's us. So I hope you've enjoyed the series. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, all those things. Contact us on Twitter. And we will see you for season 2.